Stream stickers.
And his name is
Wise bot.
And his name is
Sumāfī.
And his name is
Nightbot.
his name is
Honda underscore.
remember when we couldn't stay apart, holding hands and making love out in your car. Never thought that it would end, but I was young and didn't understand my heart. Spoke a tongue I never heard of. You were warm by all those words I couldn't say. It was love I never had to tell you. Up above and singing for the times we had. Memories haunt below. Rode the line until it hit the ground. Now angels ride to tell us that our love has died. I wish I could have known back when you were mine. But I was blinded by the light. Yeah, back when you were mine. Hoping that another you will come again. Waking up and realizing it's pretend. 'Cause all I have are dreams of you. Baby, but not enough to numb the pain. Tried it all, but I just feel the same. No hiding the truth. It was love I never had to tell you. Up above and singing for the times we had. Memories haunt below. Rode the line until it hit the ground. Now angels ride to tell us that our love has died. I wish I could have known back when you were mine. But I was blinded by the light. Yeah, back when you were mine. Yeah, back when you were mine. Yeah, back when you were mine.
Oh yeah, Mario time! Oh yeah, Mario time! Oh yeah, Mario time! Oh yeah, Mario time! Oh no! Oh no! Oh yeah, Mario time! Oh yeah, Mario time!
And his name is
CR1 Spyback 0N09.
And his name is...
Restream bot.
Oh yeah, Mario time! Oh yeah, Mario time!
And welcome into the Splatoon 2 Fresh 4 2021 Championship. I'm your spray-by-spray host, Jordan Kent, and joining me, it's been a long time, our two top Splatlists and all of the Ecopolis, Ashley Esqueda and Charles Nine-Hole Graves. And let's start with you, Ashley. What are you most excited for today? Because it's been a minute since we got the band back together.
That is what I'm the most excited about. I'm the most excited about being back here with both of you, talking about Splatoon, watching amazing Splatoon. I missed this so much.
And Nine, a chance to see 4 teams in action that have all inked their way to the top through this tournament last week. What are you excited to see from these 4? Because we've got some new faces out here potentially.
Yeah, some new faces, and I'm just really excited about this format because it is going to pit all of these teams against each other in all of the competitive ranked modes as well as Turf War. So, it really is a pleasure to see the best go at it over and over the course of a day.
Well, what's at stake? We're going to have a grand prize winner, 1 first place winner, and 2 second place winners. But here are all the goods that our grand prize winners will take home: a Splatoon 2 Fresh 4 Championship 2021 grand prize trophy, a Splatoon 2 themed suitcase, you got to carry all that gear in there, and then a custom painted, or should I say inked, Splatoon 2 Nintendo Switch system, and then a custom painted Splatoon 2 themed Nintendo Switch Pro controller, and a Splatoon 2 themed wallpaper. So this is going to be a fantastic haul for whoever gets the opportunity to win. And looking over the rules here first before we check out more of these teams, we're going to start off with our ink pools. All 4 teams will get a chance to do a bit of a round robin tournament and figure out our seeding for our semifinals. Once we get to semifinals, that's when we start eliminating teams. It's single elimination. You'll have a chance to choose from any of the game modes. It's a best of 5 in semifinals. And then when we get to our finals, it'll be a best of 7 and an opportunity to go through all the game modes, potentially repeat some of the game modes on some of the stages that we have selected. And so let's start with these teams here, Nine, because as we mentioned, there's some new faces, also some old stalwarts that have a chance to really flex some of their muscle here. What can you tell us about each team that we're going to see this afternoon?
You are batting 1,000, Jordan. Let's take it from those stalwarts that you're talking about here. FT Win, or not FT Win, as their name is this time around, and Starburst. If you've watched any of these championships before, you know what these two teams are going to bring. They've got the pedigree. They've got the results. They have win after win after win. Keep an eye on them. But at the bottom of the bracket here, Good Morning, a team that's going to bring out a lot of unconventional picks, some brushes, some rollers, and at least 1 Tentebrella, maybe 2. And Arctic Moon is going to be bringing out the shooters here. They are an aggressive team. Crowd's going to love them.
And Ashley, every time we get a chance to cover these highly talented tournaments here, what really stands out to you about the communication and why that's so important with all of these teams?
It's always my favorite thing to talk about when you talk about what it takes to be really great at Splatoon. It's communication, just like you said, but it's something that matters at literally every level. No matter what level you're playing at, whether you're brand new to Splatoon, whether you're one of the most long-standing pros in the game right now, like a Kyo, for example. Communication is always super key, and situational awareness is going to make the difference today.
Well, let's go ahead and check out more of the rules, some of the fine print about ink pools as we get set, because this is where we determine the seeding heading into the semifinal round. As we mentioned, 4 stages will be available. A coin flip, I don't know if it's a quarter, dime, nickel, whatever, will determine which team will select the stage for each match. Once a stage is selected, that stage may not be selected again during this round. It's Turf War. We've got Walleye Warehouse, Sturgeon Shipyard, Port Mackerel, and Muscle Forge Fitness. And we'll start off with Starburst versus Good Morning, and then Not FT Win versus Arctic Moon. So as we get ready to get going with our first matchup in ink pools, this meta 9 consistently is changing. That's the one thing that you can always count on Splatoon 2, is a meta that is ever evolving. What have we seen recently? What's really standing out when it comes to the style of play at this high level of competition?
If I had to summarize it, it's consistency is king. People have been moving over to the shooter class weapons. You're going to see a lot, and I mean a lot, of Kensa 52 Gal. You are going to get tired of hearing us say that today. You're also going to be very tired of hearing us talk about Tenta missiles, and there's a couple shooters that build that up. People have gotten so good at surviving, painting relevant parts of the map, and then spamming specials over and over and over. We might not see as many engagements as we have in the past, but when they do, there'll be fireworks. I can promise you that.
That's a good point you bring up. Not as many engagements as before, because Ashley, a lot of folks think, hey, top level competition, these are people that can go one-on-one and just take out an entire team. You still have to be very judicious about how you approach, how you attack if you are going to be aggressive.
Yeah, with this meta, it seems like because of the aggression involved, because of how many shooters are popular right now, one person down makes a massive difference. So if someone gets splatted on your team, that is a major opportunity for your opponents to move forward and capture, put down ink, whatever the objective may be for a map. That is going to enable them to really kind of make the most of it, especially because it's such an aggressive meta right now.
We're still getting set for our first matchup here in the ink pools. It is Turf War, and looking at the strategy of Turf War here, 9, what are teams trying to accomplish? We know it's about covering up the map with the most ink. Sure. We get that. That's the end game. But how do you approach that? What are some of the things some of these teams are trying to keep in mind?
Well, actually, we can even talk about the team that did win the Turf War tournament. Good Morning here, who's going to be in our first match against Starburst. I mentioned before some very unconventional picks, some brushes, some umbrellas. Those are very difficult to take down by themselves. So what they can do is separate the opponents to move them apart from each other so that when they do find parts of the map, they can't team up together. We all talk about the last 30 seconds, of course. It's about who has the most control at the end. But if you can't coordinate as a team, it's very difficult. So I believe that's one of the reasons why Good Morning succeeds so well at this mode.
And 9, as you pointed out, each of these teams represents almost a mini tournament that they won. Turf War, Splat Zones, Rainmaker, and Tower Control. But this was the top 4 of hundreds of teams, Ashley, and the turnout that you continue to see says a lot about the Splatoon 2 community.
Really does. And it's one of my absolute favorite things about the community is it's still going strong. Splatoon 2 has been out for a while now, for years at this point, and there is still such a rich, kind, generous community having a lot of fun out there all the time.
All right, let's go ahead and get the inking going. Sturgeon Shipyard, home of our first matchup, as we take a look. And 9, go ahead and give us this breakdown of the loadouts, because we're going to see some variance, but it's always interesting to see what teams decide to go with once a map has been decided upon.
Absolutely, and you're going to take a look right here at Ice. Actually, I know one of your favorite players here, but this composition from Starburst, I mean, this is what you're going to see from really most of the tournament. They haven't changed anything up whatsoever. They're going to opt to go with what they know best and just apply the fundamentals over the course of this game.
You saw Ice already with those Tenta missiles, less than 20 seconds and a bird's eye view of the map, and Starburst with an early advantage here, but here is Shadow right here, Ashley, and just being very mindful and trying to make sure that with one of those unconventional weapons that you're being mindful of how you approach.
Yeah, you're being mindful, you're pressing forward. Obviously, that tent umbrella does a lot of work to shield you. It's very, very helpful, but as you're seeing right now, you could throw a triangle bomb right over the top of that thing and you could make the most of it.
So you see Shadow right now for Good Morning. Good Morning just trying to keep Starburst at bay. Starburst coming into this Fresh 4 championship probably the favorites. Good Morning, a chance to be the scrappy underdog. And so far, 9, Good Morning doing a solid job of just staying alive.
Yeah, you actually saw there, it took Shadow quite a while to jump down into the action there, and that's just, you know, being very judicious to the word you used earlier here, Jordan. This is not a comp that's going to be able to push forward and make things happen. You do have to get a little bit of help from your opponent. You have to be very patient. You see Brand more than willing to dive in and break up some of that, but so far, looking pretty even.
Less than 90 seconds left. 3-4 on the field. Starburst, Good Morning going back and forth. A relatively close match so far. You see the Tenta missiles coming. Keen wisely backs up. Keen looking for some higher positioning. Just being very mindful at this moment. You're getting close to that 30-second situation. And how about the splat on Brand? Here we go, 9. Keen, you can talk about patience, but when you need to get a splat, you get it.
Very nice. Execution is the name of the game right there. As you said, get the splats when they're available to you. Starburst is not going to give you too many of those opportunities, and you see Keen opting to back up, fire the missiles before coming back in. Neither team wants to send 2 people down at this stage in the game.
All right, Ashley, you're Good Morning. You're trying to get the upset against Starburst. Just over 30 seconds left. You've got a little bit of an advantage. What are you thinking about now?
Well, this next 30 seconds is what matters. We always talk about that last 30 seconds. They've got to take out a couple of players, at least one on Starburst team, if they want a chance at winning this.
Him, Shadow, hiding behind the tent umbrella, just trying to make sure that the camping trip continues for 17 more seconds. Shadow going deep into Starburst territory. How about this? Shadow changing campsites, getting all sorts of turf at this point. 8 seconds left. Is it going to be Shadow making a push? But it looks like Good Morning has overextended themselves. And from our guesstimation, that's going to be Starburst most likely taking this one. And 9, Starburst doing what they need to in the final 15-20 seconds to get that extra edge.
Yeah, the extra edge, and really it started when Lux on the mini Splatling went down maybe a little early into that engagement. After that happened, you saw that Shadow was really forced to go all the way to the opponent's spawn, and as a result, that left the entire middle open, and it's amazing how quickly these teams can turn a map. 5 seconds before that, that map was basically even.
And Ashley, it's just an example to show you, while we had the view of Shadow and looked like Shadow just had nobody around them, sometimes that's a problem in Turf War because that means the opposing team has got everybody on your side of the map.
Yeah, well, I mean, it is literally a wall of opponents between you and your teammates. And so it becomes very, very difficult to convert that into a splat on the opposite team. You know, you're just trying to get back so that you can get some backup. And, you know, he found himself trapped back there. It's tough back there when you're real deep in enemy territory. It's not a fun place to be when you're all alone.
The Starburst gets the victory, and as we mentioned, the ink pools, we're just determining what our seeding is going to be for semifinals. And now that you've gotten your first little glimpse of Turf War here, 9, it really seems like the survivability, being able to keep as many Inklings or Octolings on the turf in the final 30 seconds is really huge because, as you mentioned, you can turn the tide, and it just takes a couple of seconds to cover everything up.
Yeah, and you can't overstate it, right? We've gone over this so many times. A lot of people make the joke that it's only the last 30 seconds, but there is some wisdom to it, right? Especially if you go into that last 30 seconds, both teams have all their specials. There's going to be pandemonium all over the map. Can you keep composed when everyone's chips are on the table?
Well, as we mentioned, Starburst getting the victory over Good Morning. That'll set up our next matchup in the ink pools here. That's going to be Arctic Moon taking on not FT Win, and this is already what a lot of folks are saying about FT Win, one of the top teams for so long, not with all of their pieces, hence the term not FT Win. And we'll see what happens against Arctic Moon, a team 9 that you mentioned, Arctic Moon. They have got the capabilities to light some teams up if they're on their A game. A very aggressive build for this team.
Yeah, very aggressive, and this is the part where we can really talk a little bit about the Kensa 52 gal, because this is a shooter that has a wall, so it survives well. It's got a booyah bomb, so it survives even better and can paint relevant objectives. And Arctic Moon has a player by the name of Twig. We are going to call that name out quite a bit. The third highest X-rank power of any player not from Japan ever, period, ever. One of the best to ever pilot that weapon.
Yeah, put that on your LinkedIn profile right there. So actually, you see the power-up that has been the main ability power-up that has really made a huge difference. And when you look at that 52 gal, now it only takes 2 hits to get a splat. And when you put that in the hands of somebody that's got some accuracy, it makes for a very bad time for the opposition.
It's dangerous. I mean, that is the only way to describe it. When you're going to see Kyo out there with a 52 gal, Ken's a 52 gal, pretty much exclusively today, and he is a very dangerous squid with that weapon in hand. So I definitely think that it's going to be very difficult to. They're going to have to really make an effort here, Arctic Moon, to pick off as many players as they can in 2-on-1 battles if they can find them.
And Nine, how much are you seeking out splats in Turf War? Because we know when you get to the other ranked modes, a splat here or there can really give you the leverage and those numbers that you need to make a push with the objective. But in Turf War, are you going out of your way to get some splats?
Question, because there's certainly a push and pull, right? We saw really going into the last 30 seconds and at the start of that last game, both teams were pretty content to paint the map a little bit, build some specials, almost throw a rock and wait to see where the fish scatter. I would expect these teams to maybe send 1 or 2 people to attack and then see what happens as a result of that, bait a little bit, and move in from there.
Throwing a rock and waiting to see if the fish scatter. Is that what you guys do in St. Louis with the fishing right there, Nine?
Wow. Wow. Oh, okay.
No, I don't know. I mean, maybe it's a good technique.
It's
I'm
dynamite.
not sure. You can educate
Dynamite.
me. So it'll
We'll
be
talk
really
later.
interesting to see what Arctic Moon does here, if this aggressive play style will lend itself to Turf War as far as what they're trying to do to overtake Not FT Win. And as we get set for the second Turf War to take place as part of our ink pools, it's important to remember, Ashley, that yes, you can have these main weapons that are really effective in certain game modes, but when you're looking at Turf War, you're looking for pure ink coverage and what weapons are going to allow you to do that as fast as possible, because as Nine said, yes, you're going to look for the splat eventually, but it's not the #1 priority.
That's exactly right. And you're going to be looking for weapons that either can put down a lot of ink very quickly, but in a short range, which I don't know how much of that we're going to see here. And then also you have on the opposite end, like we're not going to see a lot of chargers today on Turf War. That's a very like specific weapon for specific types of play. So yeah, you're going to be seeing things like buckets. You're going to be seeing things that, like you said, that most of the actual shooter weapons you're going to be seeing putting out a pretty significant amount of ink on the ground.
Nine, let's talk some Tenta missiles here. Well, we'll get to it here in just a second because we're ready to go to Walleye Warehouse. Go ahead and grab a tape roll and pack up some boxes because this is going to be a matchup between Arctic Moon and Not FT Win. And this is a very intriguing matchup, as we mentioned, because Not FT Win, not with all their players, but when you're thinking about Turf War here, Nine, on Walleye Warehouse, where's the priority here?
Yeah. We talked so much about not making the big crucial mistake. Walleye Warehouse is a map where it's actually not difficult to hold your side of the map provided you don't overextend. The opponent has to go very deep if they want to get anywhere beyond the middle here. So I would expect both of these teams to, as we're seeing specials flying from every which way, do a whole lot of this. Stand in the middle as Dark is doing right now, paint relevant areas, and FT Win already starting to encroach it.
See Dark with that Jet Squelcher, just happy to just stay on their perch and unload some Tenta missiles. That has been one of the most popular specials as of recently. And really, once you can dominate that middle area, you can start to make that push. And Ashley, with 4-4 on the map, sure it's the early going, but you really want to make sure you don't give up that middle too early.
Yeah, the middle in Walleye Warehouse, because it is a smaller map, it becomes really a critical location to control constantly throughout Turf War. So right now you're seeing, you know, Arctic Moon has dropped, you know, a player here and there, and they get right back into it, but it still matters. It makes a difference when you're really attempting to control that middle of the map. And the faster you can build up Tenta missiles, when you're out of the game, when you've been splatted, that is potentially an entire special you don't get to use in one round.
Biscuit trying to evade some Tenta missiles, got some bubbles ready to go. You see Biscuit still being patient, crossing the imaginary 50-yard line here in Walleye Warehouse, and you have to be wise here, Nine. You can't just go ahead and advance, and we see here Biscuit, a classic example of you don't have to burn your special just because you have it.
Yeah, sitting bubbles here, and bubbles are another special that has been, I'll say the word loved. Not really loved, we all know how it goes, but it's a special that has been very, very powerful recently, and Biscuit, one of the best. It's great for diffusing big pushes when the enemy puts it all on the line.
Maybe they haven't been loved, maybe they've just been liked a lot, who knows? You know, you don't want to be the first one necessarily say love with that. But here we go, you see Twig already evading all sorts of ink going left and right. Twig with that 52 cal in that wall. There's the survivability. Twig caught between two places, and there's the 2-on-1 for Not FT win as they now take a 4-3 advantage. Just 30 seconds left here, Ashley.
This is a tough position for Arctic Moon to find themselves in because really Not FT win has pretty solid control of the center here, and it's going to be very difficult for them to push it in 20 seconds.
Biscuit staying hidden up top, and right now, Arctic Moon, Not FT win. Who's going to unload those specials in the final 12 seconds? Mayhem in the middle. Biscuit splatted. Numbers advantage for Arctic Moon. It's 3-2 Arctic Moon with 6 seconds left. Is this the push? Is this the opportunity that Arctic Moon needs? Let's go ahead and put it in the furry paws of Judd to see what happens. This is pretty close here, Nine.
It is indeed. Take a look, and Not FT win held on by the skin of their teeth.
So Not FT win taking this ink pool matchup over Arctic Moon. Even though Arctic Moon had the numbers advantage down at the stretch, it was just enough done before then for Not FT win. And it's a nice little victory because when you look at how talented Starburst is here, Nine, you want to make sure you're not matching up with them by drawing that 4 seed potentially out of the ink pool. So solid win for Not FT win.
Yeah, solid win. Insider information did talk to Kyo, and he said they are prepared to play against Starburst in the semifinals if need be, but we all know you want that best of 7 against the top team.
Of course you do. And actually, it goes to show you, yes, you can cover a lot of turf in 7 seconds, but you still have to play the entire match. And we saw Not FT win do enough work that even though they were down one squid, one player, they were still able to survive down the stretch.
Yeah, I mean, if you looked at the end card after the match was over, the game was over, the amount of ink that each of the players on Not FT win put down was just a tremendous amount of ink. I mean, all of them really worked together to make sure that they won that last game, and they did a really, really good job of coverage.
And you saw Arctic Moon very aggressive, had a chance to get a lot of splats out there, but splats don't always equal success in turf war, so that'll go ahead and give Not FT win the first victory. Arctic Moon will drop one, and as we mentioned in ink pools, you've got 4 stages to choose from, and we'll take a look at the updated bracket here in just a second. But this is the round robin portion, so maybe you drop the first match, you get a chance to recalibrate a few things here, Nine. And when you look at how these top level teams continue to play turf war, how important is that beginning? Because you mentioned right off the bat in that match, there's all these specials going everywhere. Can you possibly seize momentum that early in a match, the first 15, 20 seconds?
Yeah, you absolutely can, especially if the map dictates it. Walleye Warehouse, we saw, I mean, what was that? A solid 90 seconds where Biscuit just moved back and forth, throw a bomb here, couple shots up there, knowing that the opponent's not going to get back in unless they build the specials. That's really only because they earn the right to play defense by winning that opening engagement. So, is it everything? No, but you absolutely can make the bulk of the game much easier for yourself.
Let's check out the updated bracket here, as we have now had a chance to go through 2 matchups in our ink pools. You've got Starburst getting the victory, and now they'll take on Not FT win, the 2 teams that won their first matchup, and then Good Morning followed by Arctic Moon, as we mentioned before. Your stages: Walleye Warehouse, Sturgeon Shipyard, Port Mackerel, and Muscle Forge Fitness. So up next, Starburst, Not FT win, and looking at the different roles on a team, Ashley, we're actually going to do Good Morning versus Arctic Moon first, I'm being told. So we'll go ahead and pivot to that. But Ashley, looking at the different roles on a team, the weapons that each team member chooses, there's a reason and a purpose behind that. It's not just because, ooh, this is shiny and I like this weapon. It's, I need to play a particular role for my team.
Yeah, so you've got attackers, you've got sort of midfield. It reminds me a lot of soccer or football, and then you have kind of your back line that's defending. It depends on the actual type of game that you're playing. So obviously in tower control, you're going to want maybe somebody in the back to sort of keep an eye on everything that maybe has a charger. But for turf war, really, like we talked about earlier with the loadouts, you really want things that can put ink on the ground very quickly, that have some decent range, and also enable you to sort of coordinate between your teammates on specials. So you say, okay, well, we definitely want at least 1 or 2 players with Tenta missiles. We definitely want somebody with a Booyah bomb. Let's go ahead and choose our loadout that way.
And that's what we see, Nine. Regardless of the game mode, you've got to have a lot of strategy and a lot of communication amongst the different members that are playing these roles. And in Turf War, is there a particular role to you that stands out as if you have a really good either backliner or really good person in the front, you're going to do very well in Turf War?
I would say that in Turf War in particular, it's important that everybody knows what the most important thing is, which is survivability, right? And contextual
answer,
right. Well, I can't praise anybody too much here, but I really do think that in Turf War, the onus is on every player to simply stay alive and hold their portion of the map, right? Because again, we've seen if that game had gone on for maybe 10 more seconds, Arctic Moon might have taken it, but you saw Bagel survive just long enough. So I think that's really the important part, contextual skill.
Port Mackerel side of the matchup between Arctic Moon and Good Morning. Both these squads dropped their first matchup in the ink pools, but now a chance to get on the scoreboard with a victory here. See, not FT Good Morning in the yellow, Arctic Moon in the purple, and interesting map here, Ashley, because you've got some areas that are uninkable. I think that's the official term we came up with, and you've got some different spots for some leverage as well.
There's some verticality to this map, right? So we have this sort of upper level that's around the edges of the map, and then we have the lower area with the sponges that can absorb either yours or your opponent's ink that become bigger or smaller based on who's shooting at it. So there is space for a lot of leverage, and like Nine was saying, it's really important in this map, I think, to set up that control really early in the middle of the map and make sure that nobody's getting behind you, because there are multiple lanes. So Walleye Warehouse sort of opens up into one general area, and there's not a whole lot of wiggle room there for flanking. This map is a lot different.
Already, Arctic Moon trying to eclipse most of Port Mackerel. You see the purple push coming forward. Omega trying to negate that. You see the suction bomb rush coming out. Getting a little bit of help here with that tent. And now you've got Omega trying to get out of harm's way. And how about that, Nine? The wherewithal to understand that you're about to get splatted. Let me retreat and regain my ground.
Yeah, I didn't even see the Booyah Bomb coming here. I thought the jump was initially just to get away from the Stingray, but great work, I think, getting out of there with that survivability. And you actually see that's going to allow Keen to at least survive a little bit longer here and try to slow down the opponent here. I do want to talk just for a moment here about Shadow on that tent umbrella, because Ashley, I'll even toss it to you in here. You were talking about that earlier in our previous match and how difficult it is to move away once it gets going.
Yeah, I mean, once that tent umbrella starts heading towards you, if you're stuck in a lane, it's tough. I mean, you're not getting away from that, right? It's like it's coming right at you. It's a giant umbrella. It's one of my favorite weapons in Splatoon 2. I absolutely love it. I hate playing against it. It's the worst. I never want to see it in a game, especially on a map like Port Mackerel, because of those tight lanes. But it is really fun to watch. It is really fun to watch it at the highest level of play.
Keen getting the splat on Twig, and now Arctic Moon still in full control with about 40 seconds left here. You're Good Morning here, Nine. This is when you've got to make that push. You can't leave yourself just a handful of seconds.
No, you can't. And this is such a difficult spot to try to make your push back from, because every time you're shooting to take back some turf from the opponent to build your special, well, they get the chance to do the exact same thing. You're already seeing the Stingray to take back a little bit of momentum that they had built. They're going to need a couple more picks if they want any chance of taking this back.
DM Shadow just trying to stay alive. That tent umbrella doing all that it can, but it might be dealing with too much rain in the form of purple ink coming in. Here is Shadow. You've got the curling bomb rush. Is that going to be enough, though? 3 seconds left. This might be Arctic Moon's match to go, but who knows?
Ooh,
Good
I don't
morning.
know.
A little bit of work at the end once again. Judd, what do you got for us? Because my eye can't tell at this point. Final result is, and that is going to be Good Morning. How about that? Doing just enough down the stretch, and the survivability once again, Ashley, paying off for Good Morning as they get their first victory in ink pools.
I mean, you saw Shadow right at the end there, using that tent umbrella, staying with it as it was moving forward, putting that ink on the ground, just staying calm. And that is such an important and key skill that all of these top level players have. They have the ability to just stay focused, get the job done. This is just another day of Splatoon for them, and he went in there and did it and snatched a victory away from the other team. And I absolutely love seeing games like that.
And Nine, it was really interesting when we talked about what makes these top-level teams so good. You use the word composure. It is very difficult sometimes when there's so much ink going everywhere and specials left and right, just to remain calm and focus on the objective. And that match really encapsulated composure for Good Morning because they took that initial punch, but were able to just steadily come back.
Yeah. Player at this level is going to be able to tell you the right play. If you show them a VOD review afterwards, you have them look at the tape. Being able to identify the correct answer in the heat of the moment is, I mean, you can't really put enough of a premium on it, right? It's built up over years and years of playing this game, competing at this level. And we said it earlier, every one of these teams did have to win an entire ladder in order to get here. So we know they're all bringing it to the table.
As we mentioned, top 4 of hundreds of teams that entered. And so every single one of our 4 teams today, they're special. We'll just put it that way. And so now we have our next Ink Pool matchup. That's going to be Starburst versus Not FT Win. And what we saw from Starburst, total control, start to finish, Ashley. Not FT Win, they battled back and forth a little bit in their first one. But really, it seems like getting that initial charge and then, yes, having your particular area of the map. But if you can just advance your team just a little bit further, encroach on the other team's territory, and then stay alive, that seems to be the secret that we're seeing so far.
Yeah, I think that, get a couple steps ahead of your opponent and then defense all day to the championship is really the name of the game when it comes to turf war in particular. If you can just really maintain what you have early, if you have that lead early, it really does make a difference at the end.
Let's take a look at the updated Ink pools as we get set for our next matchup here. And now you've got Starburst versus Not FT Win, but Good Morning now 1-1. Arctic Moon at 0-2. They have some work to make up. And Ashley, I got to say, you're talking about defense and championships, soccer and football. I'm very impressed with the amount of sporty balls that you're talking about here right now.
I've been home so
done
much.
Your research over the past year.
Just watching so many things on television now. Just at home watching TV, people play all of the different kinds of sports ball. It's very exciting.
And his name is
Sumāfī.
So as we get set here, Nine, Starburst is a team that has really dealt with being in the shadow of FT Win in so many major competitions, but I think it speaks volumes, Nine, that they've continued to bring in the same team and have just continued to get better and better and better, and now is their opportunity to shine.
Yeah, I mean, they have been, I would say, at the top of North American Splatoon, certainly for really the past few months here. They have been finishing first, second to some of these top teams over and over and over again. They're coming in shape, practice. They've got some strategies cooked up just for this event. So if this isn't the time they get the win in one of these big events against FT Win, I don't know if it's going to happen.
Yeah, it's one of those things psychologically. Can you get over that rival, that hump that has really been that roadblock to you getting a championship? That'll be fascinating for Starburst. But looking at another matchup here of Turf War, the specials and when you use them, Ashley, we oftentimes say you want to deploy them in a wave. And it seems like it holds true in Turf War also.
Yeah, it definitely does, especially with something like Tentamissiles. So you probably don't want to be deploying, let's say, 3 different racks of Tentamissiles all at the same time, because your opponents are going to be able to kind of ride that out generally in the same area, which means the ink that you're putting down with those missiles is localized to a very small position. So yes, you want to roll those out kind of in a wave. Splatoon, it's Splatoon. You're rolling it out in a wave. I see what you did there, Jordan.
Yeah,
but yeah, you gotta roll it out gradually. You gotta coordinate with your teammates. Make sure that you're not, hitting 2 specials at the same time that you didn't actually want to use at the same time. And you're gonna see these 2 teams build up, Tentamissiles in particular. Really, I mean, we saw Ice build up 9 Tentamissiles in 8 seconds?
And I stopped counting at a certain point. It's unbelievable.
It's so fast.
You can count up higher than
fast.
7. I know that, 9. Your name is 9, for crying out loud.
Oh my
But it's so fast that you're going to see these players build up these specials so quickly that it actually becomes a game of holding your special until you have to use it. It's because you don't want to use it too soon, which is sort of the opposite problem of what newer players might experience, which is it takes them much longer to build those specials, and so you really want to use them when you get them.
Yeah, very astute observation there. And 9, as I continue to bust your chops, you know it's all love here. One thing we didn't get a chance to really break down too much is the abilities that players are choosing. Are they going with sort of an assortment of abilities to build a well-rounded character, or are they trying to really max out particular abilities to as much as they can for the objective they have on their team?
Yeah, I mean, that second point is the exact truth, right? At this point, especially if you're using a Kensa 52 gal, you are stacking main power up, and then you're taking maybe a little bit of quick super jump, maybe a little bit of quick respawn, but your goal is to fight, right? And maximize your weapon as best you can. And really, every weapon has a particular build that people are using at the top level. And oftentimes, they won't ever change that, because at the end of the day, even if you do have the exact right build, you still have to execute on the field of play.
You know, one thing we saw in that last matchup between Good Morning and Arctic Moon as we prepare for the matchup of Starburst and Not FT Win, real quickly, Ashley, just the wherewithal to super jump out of harm. A lot of times you don't have to sit there and eat that Booyah Bomb. You can go ahead and utilize a little bit of a defensive, evasive maneuver to give yourself new life.
This is one of the things I am terrible at in Splatoon, but these players are very, very good at it, which is knowing when to get out as much as knowing when to go in. And so going in and realizing I'm in over my head, or, oh no, it's a flank, I've got to get back to my teammates, is such a critical skill that these players all know how to execute very, very well.
Muscle Forge Fitness, the side of this next Ink Pool matchup, also where 9 has spent many hours sculpting those massive, massive biceps of his, climbing those rock walls. We've got Jared right now advancing, throwing the suction bomb, wisely moving to the left here. Sees a little bit more ink that they can cover. Plenty of purple out there for Jared to cover. And now going deep into the territory. Oh, able to get the splat on 2D. And now just being mindful, backing up, and that's how you go in and go out and go ahead and give your team a numbers advantage, 9.
Yeah, that's exactly the way. We talked about, do you look for splats? Well, if they don't know you're there and they're wide open and have already been hit twice, yeah, you dive right in and get that pick. And just look at all the space they bought themselves. Brand's going to be able to rotate around, use his Tri-Slosher here to apply little bits of chip damage. Now he's back out with the armor, and they're just going to continue to make these rotations. That's what Starburst does as well as anybody in the game.
And Brand with the splat on Bagel. So now Starburst getting a few key splats, trying to take control of that right territory there where you see the purple sponge. And that's really what you have to do here, Ashley. You take care of the middle area, you take care of your half of the map, and then you just find little spots on the opponent's side that you can sort of plant your flag in.
Absolutely. And Brand is doing a really, really great job with that slosher, making sure that Not FT Win is not coming in to the middle of this map. He's like, no, thank you. I don't think you'll be putting any purple ink down today over here. I've got my slosher. Denied.
Yo, facing a 3-on-1, can't survive that. So Starburst picking off one of Not FT Win's top players, and with under a minute left, they have a numbers advantage, and it looks like Starburst starting to cover more and more of this map. And this is telling everything that we need to see here, 9. You don't see a single member of Not FT Win on this middle hump in Muscle Forge Fitness.
No, you don't, and they are going to try to build up a double suction bomb rush here. They have 2 weapons with that devastating special. They're going to put those in the middle and hope that somebody runs into it either by accident, it breaks some armor, it gives them an opening here, because they're certainly not going to be able to force it by themselves. They're going to need Starburst to slip up.
All 8 players were on the map, and now they trade. Oh, it's a 3-2 advantage for Starburst. 13 seconds left. Starburst trying to advance to 2-0 and get closer to that top seed in the ink pools. It is mayhem right now. 4-2 Starburst. That might have been it right there. You see Starburst advancing. 2 seconds left. And how about that burst from Starburst down the stretch? And this is clearly going to go their way. Just excellent execution in the final 30 seconds there, Ashley.
Really, really excellent. They held, they stayed calm. They didn't overextend. They didn't try to go for even more. They knew they had it. All they had to do was just hold, and they did exactly what they needed to do.
And that's the picture that you're able to ink right there, Ashley, is Starburst maintaining control of that middle area, 9, and we never really saw that suction bomb rush overtake that. And yes, you don't necessarily go out and look for splats, but at the end of the game, it now becomes a free-for-all, and if you can get those splats and get that numbers advantage like we saw from Starburst, it's curtains.
Curtains. And what's so difficult about fighting a team like Starburst is we never saw Brand stop moving. Whenever Brand got a pick, went over to the right side. Get a pick on the right? Let's go back to middle. Let's rotate around. And the other members of the team are doing just that as well. You can't focus in on any one of them. They know their rotations, they know their strengths, and it's going to be that much more difficult to knock them off once they get into the ranked modes.
And mobility, Ashley, is something that at this top level we just marvel at sometimes. And it's so important because you have to make yourself a moving target, and you also have to make sure that you can be flexible to help out your teammates at any given moment. And that's what we saw from Bran.
Yeah, Bran, like Nine said, Bran's moving left, getting a splat, moving right, getting a splat, moving left, covering up all of that purple ink, moving right, doing the same thing, leaving a path behind him. Often you'll see like these players will turn around and just toss a little bit of extra ink down to make sure that they can make a hasty escape or help their teammates get to them in the event of an emergency or a 2-on-1 situation. And Bran just did such a good job of being aware of helping his teammates with that mobility, using the slosher to make sure that all lanes were open for all of his teammates to be able to get to wherever they needed to go on the map.
So Starburst moving on to 2-0 so far in our ink pools as we check out the latest standings in these ink pools. Remember, we're looking for the seeding as we get set for the semifinals. That's when things get even more serious and teams start to get eliminated here. But Starburst 2-0, not FT Win and Good Morning both at 1-1, and Arctic Moon at 0-2 at this point. So that'll set up our final pair of matchups in the ink pools. And Nine, sticking on the subject of mobility, what's so great about Turf War is it's fair to say that compared to all the other game modes, you have to be mobile across the entire map at all times in Turf War versus some of these objective-based modes that we see where, okay, it's either the splat zone or I'm following the tower. Is that fair to say when you look at everything that you see when it comes to the mobility in Turf War?
Yeah, we always make the point that the entire objective is the entire map. It's that much more difficult to know where the opponent is set up because they could be anywhere. You can't rely on them being positioned around a tower, positioned around a Rainmaker, or around a splat zone. So mobility, that much more important. And more than anything, just making yourself hard to find, much less hit.
Well, taking a look at these rankings, these will be our final rankings as we get set for semifinals. So Starburst taking control of that #1 overall seed. They'll face off against Arctic Moon, and then you've got Not FT Win versus Good Morning as they get set for these first set of semifinals. So we'll bring you semifinal action here in just a moment between these two teams, and it's going to be very exciting to see what's going to happen here because Starburst 9 looked very, very dominant thus far in their first two matchups in the ink pools.
They took care of business, and so often these ink pool matches are great for getting warmed up. You can go, you can scrim some people, you can play against some people online, but nothing beats a real game speed warm-up. I can't wait to see what these teams are going to bring.
All right, we're going to step aside for a quick little break, but before that, this fall, Nintendo and PlayVS have partnered up to offer Super Smash Bros. Ultimate and Splatoon 2 as high school sports. Grab your friends and team up to represent your high school for the chance to bring your school a championship title. The fall season has already begun, but you can sign up now to learn more about the spring season at www.playversus.com. Spread the word at your school and visit www.playversus.com to get your school ready to play in the spring season 2022. When we come right back, we'll bring you our first set of semifinal matchups in the Splatoon 2 Fresh 4 Championship 2021.
Let me tell you a story about the most powerful bounty hunter in the galaxy, Samus Aran. Samus is the best of all of us, and yet her story is beyond us. Raised by mysterious creatures, she was sharpened beyond humanity, forced by fate, circumstance, and duty to survive. The battles she's faced are beyond imagination. Fearsome aliens, apocalyptic creatures, and even monsters within. Mission after mission, Samus has proven to be infallible, strong, ferocious. Still, every mission leaves deep scars, and every hunter has a final hunt. This is a story of the hunter becoming the hunted.
And welcome back to the Splatoon 2 Fresh 4 Championship 2021. Jordan Kent alongside Ashley Esqueda and 9. And we're getting set for semifinal matchup number 1. It'll be our top seed Starburst taking on our 4 seed Arctic Moon, which is a bit of a spicy matchup here because Arctic Moon, a team with capable shooters on their squad that can overwhelm a team if they get really warm. But let's go ahead and check out the rules for the semifinals because now we get into the elimination mode of this Fresh 4 Championship. And with semifinals, is going to be a best of 5. You're going to get a chance to cycle through all the game modes here. You see Turf War, Rainmaker, Clam Blitz, Tower Control, Splat Zones. Your stages, Inkblot, Art Academy, Mako Mart, Blackbelly Skate Park, The Reef, Manta Maria. Now the team with the lower seed, that is Arctic Moon, will choose the mode for the first game, and that means Starburst will choose the stage. After the first game, the losing team, that's right, the losing team will choose the mode for the next game, with the winner choosing the stage. So 9, there's some gamemanship there because once a mode is chosen, if you're the team that just won, you can choose a map that you feel like you'll do the best on in that particular game mode.
Yeah, and a lot of these maps are very popular maps within the community, and a lot of them if you're good at one of them, you're probably good at a few of them here. So it's going to be a great opportunities for these teams to kind of say, all right, I know that it's going to be a mode that I'm really good at, but, you know, maybe this stage isn't the one for me, or, well, great, they were good at the last stage, they're going to be good at this one as well.
So, Ashley, we are being told that our very first game will be Tower Control on Inkblot Art Academy, and this is always exciting because you've got a pretty wide open area in the middle and then some verticality and uninkable ramps that you have to deal with as you get deep into opposing territory.
This is I think, one of the more difficult last checkpoints to take because of those uninkable surfaces, because of the verticality. There's also the uninkable hand sculptures that you can stand in. It's
kind of like this, right? Am I doing it right?
The uninkable little hands there. But yeah, it's. I think it is one of the most difficult maps to actually take the tower to that last checkpoint, that last stretch. It's pretty tough, so it'll be really interesting to see how both of these teams perform today.
In 9, we've seen that all of these players on these teams can use multiple weapons. Are we seeing a transition at all when it comes to the weapon selection and tower control, or will it be a lot of the same stuff that we saw for Turf War?
I think a lot of the same, and part of that teams that we're going to be seeing right now. Starburst, they know what they're good at, right? They don't need to mess with it. It's been working for quite some time. Arctic Moon was the team that ended up winning the tower control ladder. So this should be, at least in theory, their most comfortable mode. So whatever we see from this, they've had this plan for quite some time.
And Arctic Moon, a surprising 0-2 in the ink pools. This is a team that really likes to use those 52 gals, Ashley. And if you can finally get your aim right with those and get on a roll, you can overwhelm the other team.
You absolutely can. I mean, like we were talking about earlier, with the Kenza 52 gal, it's 2 hits to splat an opponent, which means anything goes, especially in tower control when you have this sort of variable in the tower. Where is it? Where's it going? Is it moving? Is it not moving? Are we at a checkpoint? I mean, there's so many different scenarios that these teams are going to have to adjust to. And the 52 gal, the Kenza 52 gal, is going to make that all the much more difficult.
Now, 9, Tenta missiles, are they still just as valuable in tower control as they are in all the other game modes?
Yeah, it's maybe even more so because you know where the opponents are going to be. It's that much easier to hit 2 or 3 people with those Tenta missiles. And again, if you're on the tower and you get targeted, you have to move. It's non-negotiable, and better yet, the opponent can see where you're going because you are marked once those Tenta missiles do take aim on you. So expect at least one of these teams to bring some Tenta missiles out and use those as a get-out-of-jail-free card if the push starts happening.
Of course, Ashley, when you are on that tower trying to advance it, that's when you really have to be dialed in as a team, because it's not just enough to get on top of the tower. You have to make sure that you're getting that thing moving. And then, as you said, when you get to those checkpoints, what are teams trying to keep in mind as they're trying to clear that checkpoint?
Now stay away from bombs. Suction bombs are not your friend. Suction bombs are the enemy. You're going to see probably a lot of suction bombs. I'm guessing maybe 1 or 2 teammates on each side is going to have a special that has to do with suction bombs, because it is one of the easiest ways to get your opponent off of the tower, and also it moves along with the tower. You don't have to worry about it being stationary, and it certainly is one of the more difficult things to defend from when you're on the tower. Now, on the flip side of that, if you're on the tower, we talk a lot about situational awareness, right? So, when you're at a checkpoint, it's sort of a rotating. Communication is so key when you're making that countdown happen. You've got to get off the tower and get back on quickly to continue that countdown. You've got to talk to your teammates. If you're not doing that, you can't make it to the end.
In 9, when you're surrounding this tower and trying to really be this entourage as this tower is slowly moving to those beautiful musical chimes, are you straying far away from the tower up ahead, or what's the mindset with these top level teams as far as their positioning around the tower as they're slowly trying to plod their way across the map?
Yeah, you play ahead of the tower, right? If you are playing at the same speed that the tower's playing, you are too slow, my friend. So keep an eye out. These teams are going to be ahead of the tower. They're going to be taking the fight to their opponents.
Well, this should be an interesting one. Arctic Moon, who won the Tower Control Championship to advance to the Fresh 4 Championship, versus Starburst, arguably the #1 team coming in. And let's see, already Dark with some Tenta missiles to open up the party. Neither team has gotten control of the tower at this moment. Dark just trying to play behind. Some more tinted missiles this time coming with the yellow ink, trying to send Dark back. And so far, Ashley, a 4-3 advantage. Now make a 3-3 tie between Arctic Moon and Starburst. Nobody's really being aggressive. They're kind of trying to wait to make that push here.
Well, you saw Starburst went down 2 players, and that's when Arctic Moon was able to get on the tower and start moving it. And that is the strategy. You pick off a couple of your opponents, then you get on the tower, you make your push, and then when they regroup and come back, it's sort of that push and pull that we like to see in tower control.
Arctic Moon trying to get to the second checkpoint. Tower is going to stall as you see it just bombarded with suction bombs. Dark trying to hop back on there. Dark unleashing some Tenta missiles, and sitting at 49. They haven't cleared that second checkpoint yet, and now it's going to return, so some solid defense 9 from Starburst.
Yeah, and I really got to give a shout out to Ice there. Ice threw a bomb at the tower there, not on the backliners that many people are probably used to seeing. Ice is using a shooter here. Surprise, surprise in this meta. Walked right forward and swept that tower off like it was nothing.
Now Brandroid trying to escort the tower to the first checkpoint for Starburst. They haven't cleared that one yet. It's just about a hair or two away. Now tower being returned as Arctic Moon playing a little bit